Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very excited to present to you the writer and director of A Little White Lie. I watched the film last night, man, and it's just absolutely fantastic. I
Oh,
was
thank
blown away. I enjoyed myself tremendously. You've got so much packed into this film. It's amazing. Um, I guess I just kind of want to start at the beginning in the fact that from what I understand, you first heard about Shriver during a reading by the author, and that's what kind of drew you into wanting to make this a project. Was there anything in particular that kind of stood out to you as you were listening to this reading that made you think, "Man, this is something I want to jump on"?
Sure. I think what's described in the book, or what's illustrated in the book, is something that I'm a writer. I've been a journalist. I've published books. I've written screenplays. I've directed films now, and there is, I think, a sense when you succeed at something that you've always wanted to do, of having this out of body experience, of kind of standing back and looking at yourself and thinking, like, who is that person?
Yeah,
Um, and I think that's what I, kind of captured my imagination about it. And I thought there's a good story in there. And I also think that's what Michael Shannon related to as well, when when he first read the script and we first met about making the movie.
perfect, perfect. Now, I was curious as well. Of course, the novel itself is called Shriver, and then the name change from the movie to A Little White Lie. Was there anything in particular that made you want to make that change?
Honestly, I didn't make the change. It was the distributor that
Okay.
made the change. I think I understood that why they did it. When I told people I was working on a film named Shriver, I come from a journalism background. I've made documentary. I've produced documentary footage for the TV networks in the past.
Yeah.
And so when I said the film's called Shriver, older people said, "Well, is it about Sergeant Shriver?" And slightly younger people said, "Is it about Maria Shriver?" And I think there's even a younger Shriver in there somewhere that I don't know about. But yeah, so it got confusing. I got really tired of answering the question, "Is this a documentary?" But the word Shriver actually means writer, and that's yeah. But I think the feeling was that it would be easier to get people to pay attention to the film if it was called A Little White Lie.
No, I love it. I think the title stands out. It makes you curious. You want to know what the little white lie is. So it's perfect. You've got an incredible cast in this film, as you said, Michael Shannon. You got Kate Hudson, Don Johnson, just a tremendous, fantastic blend of A-list actors as well as up-and-coming stars. And personally, I felt that was providing some amazing symmetry in the film, if you will. As you were working on the screenplay and adapting the novel, did you have any of the actors who were cast in your head ahead of time as you were writing these characters out?
I did not know. I mean, I think I changed some of the script later when once we had the cast in place.
Yeah,
But I started writing this a while ago, and there were other actors that we had talked about for the role of Shriver. But when Michael Shannon was interested, the minute I heard he was interested, I jumped on a plane to Chicago to go talk to him and try to get him to do it. Because I mean, I think Michael Shannon is the finest actor working today in
yeah.
at least on this side of the ocean, and uh, who wouldn't want to work with him?
Well, yeah. No, perfect, perfect. And that kind of leads me in. I am a huge fan of Michael Shannon. I followed his career pretty much my entire life, and I absolutely loved him in this. He was wonderful. But in recent years, he seems to take on a lot of roles that have sort of an authoritative presence about them. But in this, he's very much an introvert. He's an introverted handyman. So my question for you was, what was like seeing that transformation from an actor who played General Zod into taking
Yeah.
on this very introverted role?
Well, I knew he could do it. Obviously, I mean, I know he could do anything. Um, I think Michael's kind of an introvert in his own way.
Really?
I mean, he may not agree with that assessment, but I spent enough time with him to know that he's quiet. He's very interior. There's a lot more going on than he gives away. Michael's not one of those celebrities who's just sort of out there being um, just overly enthusiastic and stuff. He's very withdrawn. Yeah, and he's got his sense of humor is so droll.
Yeah.
This is not a film of huge, yucks and stuff like that. I mean, the humor kind of runs, I think, as a stream beneath the surface, which is what I like.
Yeah.
The kind of humor that comes with the real psychological tumult that individuals, all of us, are feeling. Some of us all the time.
Wow. Wow. No, he was absolutely wonderful in this. I really enjoyed the dynamic, and I don't want to give anything away for anybody that's going to get to see this interview, but the fact that you get to see many faces of Michael Shannon, I think, from this film, and getting to see just the changes he makes from him playing him to him playing him. It was just really wonderful to see just what he could do in playing those roles. Uh, I did also want to talk about the fact that, from what I've been told, this film was originally scheduled to make its appearance a little bit earlier, but the pandemic caused many complications with that. Can you walk us through what took place?
Yeah, I mean, we started the filming in late February of 2020, and you can imagine what happened 3 weeks later. We shut it down in the middle of March with 8 shooting days left,
Oh dear.
and yeah, well, we got far enough that we, if we'd only managed to shoot a week, I think the film would have just gone away. But we had 8 days left. A lot of it was in the can, and what happened was that you can imagine getting this cast all back together was a huge job, but not mine, fortunately, because I don't have the organizational skills to do something like that. But the producers were able to pull the cast back together. We were able to get Kate for 6 days. Apple let her. She was doing a show for Apple. They let her go for 6 days. Zach Braff, we only had for a day because he was working for Disney, and they let him go for the weekend.
Oh wow.
And then everybody else, there's one actor in what we shot in the second half who wasn't actually there, and we green screened her in later. And I had to go back months later. She was 9 months pregnant when we were shooting, so that added another 4 months, 5 months to the shooting schedule, because I had to wait till she was kind of, ready to go work again.
Yeah.
And then there were scenes I ended up having to rewrite because we couldn't coordinate having everybody there at the same time. I mean, there were scenes I rewrote on the fly.
Wow.
That like, in the moment, like, let's try this. So it was a bit of a challenge, and we it's a miracle it got made.
Yeah. Well, no, that's tremendous. I mean, the fact that there's such an amazing amount of time passed by, and everybody was still on board. That's a rare occurrence, because so many films, so many productions just got shut down and deserted during the pandemic. So it's wonderful that we did get to see this. I did want to talk to you a little bit about your previous career. You mentioned earlier, a journalist and a reporter. As somebody who's in that role themselves, can you just kind of talk to me about what the leap was from media writer to screenwriter? I mean, it's not a huge leap, but it still is a leap. Can you walk us through that?
I never approached life with any plans. I joined the Peace Corps after college because I wanted to get away, and I didn't want to get a job, and I ended up in Africa for 2 years, and then I wanted to stay, so I started writing and selling stories to magazines and various outlets, and getting paid $200 here and there. And then but the journalism picked up, and I I worked for some major publications after that. And then as I was, I spent a lot of time in a lot of wars and dangerous situations. I buried any number of friends, and uh, so I reached a point when I was turning 40. I had a book coming out that I'd written about the war in Somalia, and that book got optioned for a film. And I also got married, and that didn't lend itself to that. Like, I'm going away for 8 months to tromp through, Congo.
Yeah.
So I got to write the screenplay to that, and that never got made. But I started getting a lot of work writing screenplays and doing script doctoring and that stuff. And suddenly I found myself doing Hollywood work. And then at a certain point, about 10 years ago, I thought, you know what? I want to direct. Actually, it was a producer I was working with on a project who, he read a script of mine and said, "This is great, but I don't know who would direct it." And I said, "Yeah, I'm not sure." And he said, "You should direct it." I didn't, but I went and I wrote my first script. I wrote a script that I thought I could shoot and direct for very, very, very little money. And that was
Yeah.
The Short Fear Decay with Linda Lavin, Harris Yulin, and Brian Greenberg, and it's a terrific film, I think.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, just that transition, and the experiences that you've got to have. That's just fantastic. Somebody such as myself who hopes to one day make that transition themselves into that world, that industry. That's definitely some great hope there. When you got to see your finalized film, when you got to see A Little White Lie completely done and it was finished and it was getting ready to be sent out, what goes through your mind as you're reflecting back on and looking at your finished product?
Um, well, what actually, honestly, what goes through your mind is lessons learned. Oh, I should have cut that there. Oh, I should have included. I mean, you can't. You're all making an independent film means waking up every morning and compromising on something.
Yeah,
You can't have. I couldn't have 250 extras, which I would have wanted. I could. There's all kinds of stuff that you want to do, and at any moment, whether you're writing a script or directing a film, there are an infinite number of possibilities, and sometimes you just got to do it.
yeah,
Um, I literally have an entire notebook of notes to myself about, things I'll do the next time I direct a film or things I won't do.
yeah,
But you know what? But every film is like that. I don't think you could ever talk to a director who would say, "Yeah, that's perfect. I did everything." Um, that's the art. That's the part of it that's art. That everything's flawed in its own way, and you learn from it and get better. And audiences love this film, and nobody seems to be coming up to me and say, "Yeah, you should have cut that scene like 2 seconds earlier." It's only me. Uh, but I really like it, and I'm proud of it.
no, and you should be, man. Like I said, I really really enjoyed myself last night getting to watch the screener. So thank you for that. Uh, I definitely want to give our readers, our listeners, a little bit of an insight into what you're going to be working on next. Can you fill us in or give us a tease on what you got coming up?
Sure. I've got a script I'm just finishing up. Actually, I should have finished up last week, but I've been busy. Um, that Based on a book my wife wrote called Inheritance. My wife is Danny Shapiro. She's a pretty well-known writer.
Yeah,
And I wrote it's for Killer Films, which is a great outfit. And the film is going to be directed by the great Polish director, Agnieszka Holland. And so I'm doing a rewrite based on, I had written the initial script, and I'm writing it based on my conversations with her about, director's notes.
yeah,
So it's nice working with another director, one who's got a tremendous amount of experience, and is one of the directors I've always admired, and she's, she was a student of Kieślowski, who wrote the trilogy, the Blue, White, and Red trilogy, so yeah, I mean, it's a huge honor to be working with her.
No, that's super exciting. Yeah, I bet that'd be exciting. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
I definitely want folks to be able to keep up with you, be able to follow you on your journey that you're on. What's the best way for folks to connect with you if they'd like to?
Instagram is the best. I'm very open, both what I'm doing professionally and personally there. I had cancer a couple of years ago, and I did I charted that whole course through my Instagram account, and it's an honest account. So it's at MMAREN, M Maren, my first initial and last name. Instagram is the way to do that.
All right, fantastic. Well, sir, thank you so much for taking some time for us today. We really do appreciate it. It's been an absolute honor to getting to visit with you, and I really look forward to seeing what audience think of this film when it arrives in theaters March 3rd, I believe. So
March 3rd, and also VOD at the same time, so you'll be able to get it on Apple TV or whatever.
fantastic. Fantastic. Well, Michael, thank you again for your time. It's been a pleasure, and good luck to you in all your future endeavors. And I really hope we get the chance to visit again in the future.
Well, maybe the next time I do it, you'll be a screenwriter.
Hey, that'd be awesome. Awesome.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
Bye.